Hello! Glad you could make it today to listen to my little music lesson. And today we're going to explore some more of those musical elements that we started. You know, those things like pitch and dynamics that we were talking about before. Well, today we're going to explore the musical element, or should I say, the interrelated dimension of music. And it's called timbre. Timbre. What a strange word that is. Timbre. And another word we're going to have a think about is texture. Texture. So today we're thinking about timbre and texture. And to start off with, I would like you to look at my little picture on the back. So if I go back here, I don't usually do this, but I'm just going to get up. And let's have a look at this backdrop, because what we've got here are different textures. So we've got some grass and fields at the top, and then we've got some paint, old dried paint here. Then under that we've got, can you see some seaside? I think that's Southwold or somewhere near there. There's some rough sea there. Underneath this, I wonder if you can guess what that is. Well, it's a pumpkin. And then right at the bottom, we've got some grass. And all those different things are what's called different textures. Some are rough, some are smooth, some are prickly, some are soft. That's what we mean by texture. And when we talk about timbre, it's very much the same thing. But timbre is to do with a musical instrument. So we're going to have a little think about timbre first of all. But before we do that, I want us to really think about our senses, because it's going to help us with thinking about timbre and texture. So let's think about the way we use our senses to explore the world around us. Yes, how lovely it is today. So we use our sense of sight, don't we? We see things with our eyes. We see different colours. We see beautiful views to remember and wonderful places that we see. We see lightness and darkness. We see all the differences in between, all those shades of grey, and we see all the colours of the rainbow. So we think about colour quite a lot at school, don't we? And we might draw something, we might paint something. And that's because we want to be like artists. We want to see the world like artists. And we want to use colour to excite our senses, our sense of seeing, of looking, of viewing. Okay, so let's have a think about our sense of smell. We use to breathe in things, don't we? Through our nose. We smell things. We smell flowers, or we smell food, or we smell perfume sometimes, or we smell the seaside, or if you cut the grass in the summer. Do you remember the smell of freshly cut grass? It's a lovely summery smell. I wonder what the smells are that you really love or you really hate. I can think of a few. I might ask you to do something in your worksheet later on about that. What about our sense of touch? So that is something that we use usually with our hands, but it can be any part of our body, and we can feel something, maybe whether it's rough or smooth or wet or dry, or cold or hot or friendly sometimes, or unfriendly at other times. So touch is really important, isn't it? Listening. Now, of course, as a musician, I'm really interested in how we listen, and our sense of hearing, using these things. It lets us hear the world around us. So we might be listening to the wind in the trees, or we might be listening to busy traffic outside, or we might be listening to a whispered secret. So all these things are really interesting to us. Of course, we might be listening to music as well. But I wonder what you really listen to. What do you actually really listen to? Rather than just hearing it, when you're really listening, what is it? Is it music? Is it your friends? Is it your teacher's voice? What is it that you're really listening to? Are you a packed lunch or a school dinner? Now, this is interesting, isn't it? Because this is all about taste. This is about the way we taste things. And every day we come into school and we think about our lunch. When it gets to about, usually for me, it's about 10:30, I'm thinking, what's for lunch? What am I going to be excited by for my lunch? Is it going to be something sweet, or is it going to be something bitter? Is it going to be something fluffy and creamy, or is it going to be hot, or is it going to be cold? Our sense of taste is really important. All our senses are really important because we experience the world through our senses, and music is no different. And when we think about the timbre and the texture of music and sound, it's really important to understand what we're thinking about. Artists, musicians, composers, or even footballers or chefs or teachers, all of us use our senses and the different textures that we feel to make things exciting and meaningful and memorable. What do we mean by timbre? Well, timbre is about the quality of the sound that you're hearing. So it's like the features of the sound. Maybe you could think of it as the colour of the sound, its characteristics. So if you think about different voices that you listen to, how do you know your mother's voice to your friend's voice? It's because you understand what timbre is. You understand the quality of the sound of your mother is different to the quality of the sound of your friend, even though they might be speaking the same language and even speaking the same notes. So when we think about how notes make a sound, we can think about whether the sound is a rough sound or a smooth sound. Is it soft or is it loud? Is it squeaky or is it a kind of round, mellow sound? How would you describe the sounds that you're listening to? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you some sounds. I'm going to play you the same sounds but on different instruments, and you can see what I mean. So let's bring this microphone over here a little bit and let's have a listen to the piano. So I've got the piano out. So this is the beginning of the piece that we're going to listen to. You'll know it. Okay, so you all know that tune. That was it played on a piano or a keyboard. Let's play it now on one of these, which is called a recorder. I'm sure you've all seen these before, and some of you play them. So let's play the same tune on the recorder. Well, it's a different sort of sound, isn't it? Probably because I'm blowing into it and that this is made of plastic, whereas this is an electronic instrument. Let's choose a different instrument. Okay, so you'll have seen this instrument at school and you'll have seen me playing this instrument. It's called a ukulele. And on this ukulele, let's hear that same tune. It sounds different, doesn't it? It has a different quality of sound or a different timbre. One more from my little musical treasure trove. This is called a mouth organ or a harmonica, and you blow into this one. Let's see what sounds this has. Here we go. So all those instruments have different timbres. They have different characteristics or features. And that's what gives us the idea of timbre. And what musicians do and composers do is they mix those tunes together, those different timbres together, to create something really wonderful. Okay, so imagine you're a composer and you've chosen the instruments that you want to work together with all the different textures and timbres that each instrument has. So let's take two pieces. So one piece is like a wedding piece in a church, and you've got the bride and groom walking slowly up the aisle to get married. So you probably choose quite a stirring piece for that. And you might choose instruments which could be expressive and loud, perhaps something like a church organ or a trumpet or some drums. But if you were writing our second piece, which is a lullaby, then you might choose instruments which are a bit softer. And we've chosen the ukulele, the mouth organ, the harmonica, the recorder and the keyboard, the piano. So we're going to choose those instruments. So what we're going to finish off with today is a piece of music that I'm going to play to you. And I want you to really notice where the different instruments come in and where they stop and how that changes the texture of the music. And I'm going to ask you about that in the worksheets that come after this. Okay, so see if you can get those right. So really pay attention and watch what happens and where the instruments come in and where they drop out and how that changes the music. Hope you've enjoyed this little lesson on texture and timbre, and see you next time.